Hello and welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. You're watching WION The World this one, and this is World DNA. Let's begin with the headlines. U.S. Southcom says its Joint Task Force Southern Spirit strikes a vessel linked to designated terrorist groups in the Caribbean, killing 3 narco-terrorists. No U.S. personnel are harmed.
We have a situation right now where we sent a very big carrier group to Iran. I'd love to see if we could make a deal. They've been difficult to make a deal.
Well, Trump tells U.S. troops at Fort Bragg Army Base that Iran has been difficult in nuclear negotiations and suggests that instilling fear in Iran may be necessary to resolve the standoff peacefully. European leaders call for reset in ties with U.S. at Munich Security Conference. Merz urges new partnership. Macron calls for stronger Europe. Starmer says Europe must rely less on U.S. for defense.
Russia wants to make a deal, and Zelensky's going to have to get moving. Otherwise, he's going to miss a great opportunity. He has to move.
U.S. President Donald Trump urges Ukrainian President Zelensky to negotiate a deal to end Russia's invasion of Ukraine, saying Moscow wants an agreement. Turkey accuses European Union of interfering in its affairs after EU lawmakers pass resolutions condemning violence in Syria and Turkey's treatment of journalists and Christians. French police shot dead a knife-wielding man after he allegedly threatened officers during a ceremony at Arc de Triomphe in Paris. President Macron congratulates police officers who stopped the attack. Bangladesh's Jamaat-e-Islami Party alleges vote counting irregularities in election, seeking action from Election Commission. BNP, led by Tariq Rahman, wins 212 seats, while Jamaat-led Alliance takes 77. Thailand Prime Minister Anutin Charnvirakul says his Bhim Thai Party, which won general election by a wide margin, will be joined by third place Thai Party backed by jailed ex-PM Thaksin Shinawatra to form coalition government. U.S. inflation cooled more than expected in January, boosting hopes for Fed rate cuts. President Trump said inflation is way down and back on track, calling it a sharp turnaround for what he described as the worst inflation in U.S. history. Now, the 62nd annual Munich Security Conference kicked off with European leaders looking to mend their ties with the United States. The summit takes place amidst Trump's harsh criticism of Europe and his repeated threats to take over Greenland. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz called for a new transatlantic partnership, while British Prime Minister Keir Starmer called Europe as a sleeping giant, adding that Europe must rely less on the U.S. for its defenses. In a statement, Downing Street said that Starmer will be arguing for a European-centric NATO at the Security Summit in Munich. It further said that Starmer will call for UK-EU defense cooperation. Meanwhile, French President Emmanuel Macron said the time has come for Europe to become a geopolitical power, while lambasting accusations that Europe has been decaying. Macron also said that the world should take cues from Europe rather than criticizing them.
Europe has to learn to become a geopolitical power. It was not part of our DNA. We conceived ourselves as a political construction to provide peace. We delivered. Second, a single market to provide growth and prosperity. We delivered. Now we have to reform it in this new order. In this new geopolitical environment, Europe has to become a geopolitical power. Everyone should take their cue from us, instead of criticizing us or trying to divide us.
Now, prior to this, UK Prime Minister Starmer met German Chancellor Merz and French President Macron and held bilateral talks with both the leaders. French President Macron also held bilateral talks with Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson at the sidelines of the security conference in Munich. Meanwhile, California Governor and Democrat Gavin Newsom urged countries and corporations to buck up against U.S. President Donald Trump. Speaking at the security summit in Munich, Newsom called out Trump for his racist tropes, while also lambasting the U.S. Congress for being supine.
You know, buck up. So am I. There's probably not a politician in the United States. I mean, I'm under assault attack by this guy every single day. Here's the President of the United States, racist tropes he put out. This is the President of the United States of America. Call this guy out. We have a supine United States Congress, so we have to stand up. Corporate leaders have to stand up. People have to stand up.
In the midst of all this, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky hailed the big progress in talks with European leaders on ending the war with Russia. He also held bilateral meetings with Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen and Norwegian Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Store at the sidelines of this three-day security conference in Munich. On the other hand, German, French and Chinese foreign ministers held trilateral talks. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot also held bilateral talks with his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi during the summit. All right, in other news, U.S. President Donald Trump says a second aircraft carrier will soon head to West Asia, increasing military pressure on Iran as negotiations continue over the announced nuclear program.
Help America's winning again, America's respected again, and perhaps most importantly, we are feared by the enemies all over the globe. They fear us. And, you know, I don't like to say fear, but sometimes you have to have fear because that's the only thing that really will get the situation taken care of. We have a situation right now where we sent a very big carrier group to Iran. I'd love to see if we could make a deal. They've been difficult to make a deal. I thought we would have had a deal last time. They wish they did, and that's where we did Midnight Hammer.
The president confirmed the deployment after visiting troops at the Fort Bragg, North Carolina. His remarks come as the administration weighs whether to take potential military action against Iran. Trump has also suggested that a change in power in Iran will be the best possible outcome.
Well, it seems like that would be the best thing that could happen. For 47 years, they've been talking and talking and talking. In the meantime, we've lost a lot of lives while they talk, and legs blown off, arms blown off, faces blown off. So we'll see it out. If we could get it settled for once and for all, that would be good.
In recent weeks, Trump has said his top priority is pushing Iran to further scale back its nuclear program. However, he indicated that nuclear restrictions alone would not be enough, suggesting that the United States is seeking broader concessions from Tehran. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who traveled to Washington this week for meetings with Trump, has urged that any agreement with Iran include steps to neutralize its ballistic missile program and halt its funding of proxy groups, including Hamas and Hezbollah. Iran maintains that its nuclear program is intended for peaceful purposes. Before the June war, Iran had been enriching uranium to 60% purity, a short technical step away from weapons-grade levels. In a related development, the head of the United Nations nuclear watchdog says Reaching an agreement with Iran on inspections of its nuclear processing facilities is possible, but extremely difficult. International Atomic Energy Agency Director General Rafael Grossi told the Munich Security Conference that inspectors returned to Iran after attacks by Israel and U.S. forces last year, but have not yet been able to access any of the sites that were targeted. Also at the Munich conference, Reza Pahlavi, the exiled son of Iran's last Shah, has said that his goal is for Iranians to elect a democratic government. Pahlavi said he has no personal ambitions for power.
From the first day I started, I considered my mission in life to bring the country to a point that we can have that final referendum and the people elect their first democratic government in the future. That, to me, is the finish line and mission accomplished in life. I don't have any personal ambition. I'm not seeking power. I don't want to have a crown on my head or a title. But I think that they should look at me as a bridge to that destination and not the destination itself.
U.S.-based Pahlavi, who has lived outside Iran since before his father was toppled in the 1979 Islamic Revolution, acknowledged that Iran's opposition remains fragmented and lacks a strong organized presence inside the country. On the sidelines of the conference, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky met with Pahlavi. According to Ukraine's presidential office, both men condemned cooperation between Russia and Iran, including the supply of Iranian Shahid drones to Russian forces and the licensing of their production. And for more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani sent us this report from New York.
President Trump has confirmed that he is indeed sending the second U.S. aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald Ford, to the Middle East to increase pressure on Iran as negotiations over its nuclear program stall. Trump said a change in power in Iran would be, quote, the best thing that could happen, and warned of serious consequences if Iran doesn't agree to a deal. The move comes as tensions is rising regionally. The Ford will join the USS Abraham Lincoln and other forces already in the Middle East region, signaling stronger U.S. military posture amid ongoing diplomatic efforts. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who was just in Washington, has also pressed the United States to confront Iran's missile program as well as proxy activity. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
Now, after deciding to purchase 114 Rafale fighter jets from France, reports claim India will buy hundreds of S-400 missiles from Russia in a 10,000 crore rupee deal. The acquisition is part of the 3.6 lakh crore defense procurement plan announced by the center. Our next report tells you more. Let's take a look.
India has put its enemies on notice. A day after announcing the purchase of 114 Rafale fighter jets, New Delhi is replenishing another lethal weapon in its arsenal. A report by the Hindustan Times claims that India will purchase 288 S-400 missiles worth 10,000 crore from Russia, boosting New Delhi's defense capabilities. The missiles are part of the S-400 air defense system, considered among the world's most advanced. India is also slated to receive deliveries of 2 more S-400 air defense systems from Russia this year. The S-400 stood tall as an impenetrable wall of defense and repelled every Pakistani attack during Operation Sindoor, when India downed Pakistani drones and jets and paralyzed its defenses. The deal is reportedly part of India's 3.6 lakh crore defense acquisition plan. The other big-ticket purchase is the Rafale fighter jet. India will procure 114 additional Rafales from France, and 90 of them will be manufactured in India with 50% indigenous content. The procurement will significantly boost the IAF's deterrence capabilities. The acquisition plan also includes tanks, combat vehicles and P-8I maritime drones, enhancing India's defense capabilities across land, air and sea. This is more than a defense procurement plan, it's a statement of intent, a clear message to India's enemies. A lethal and unforgiving response awaits them should there be any misadventure on the border. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Now, the world's largest PC maker, Lenovo Group, has reported a 21% drop in quarterly profit as a sharp surge in memory chip prices squeezed margins. While the company has warned that the global memory crunch could have a prolonged impact on the industry this year. Take a look at our next report for more on this.
Lenovo Group, the world's largest PC maker, reported a 21% drop in net profit for the December quarter. This comes as a sharp rise in memory chip prices weighed on margins. Chairman and CEO warned that the global memory crunch is not a short-term fluctuation but a structural supply-demand imbalance likely to persist through the year. Prices for dynamic random access memory, or DRAM, doubled this quarter after rising 40 to 50% in the previous one, significantly increasing component costs for device makers. While memory manufacturers are seeing record gains, consumer electronics companies are under pressure. A Bloomberg index tracking global consumer electronics makers is down about 12% since late September. In contrast, a basket of memory chip stocks including Samsung Electronics has jumped more than 160% over the same period. Investors had anticipated tighter supply, but the speed and scale of the price rise are now raising questions about how long the disruption will last. At the core of the disruption is the rapid expansion of artificial intelligence infrastructure. Hyperscalers such as Amazon, Microsoft and Google are driving demand for high bandwidth memory used in AI servers. Spot DRAM prices have surged more than 600% in recent months, while contract prices jumped nearly 80% in the fourth quarter alone, with further increases expected. Industry forecasts suggest memory supply growth will remain below historical norms through 2026, increasing the risk of higher device prices, delayed upgrades or reduced specifications. With AI demand still accelerating, investors are now questioning whether the memory shortage will ease quickly or persist well into the next product cycle. Business Bureau, WION, World is One.
All right, moving on. As ski jumping takes center stage in Milan, Cortina, Swiss engineers are bringing high-tech precision to the sport. Wearable sensors are measuring takeoff forces and tracking athletes midair, giving coaches instant feedback. Take a look.
As the Milano Cortina Winter Olympics get underway in Italy, ski jumping is once again showing just how small the margins are at the top level. In a sport where centimeters can separate medals from the rest of the field, small changes in body position and timing can decide the result. For national teams, the challenge is not only performance in competition, but how quickly technique can be adjusted in training. In Switzerland, researchers and coaches are testing a new wireless sensor system designed to give more precise and immediate feedback on jumping technique. At a training site in Switzerland, Swiss Ski's national junior team is taking part in the trial. The group is part of the country's development program and includes athletes who can step up to the Olympic team if needed. Among them is junior ski jumper Mauro Imhoff. Before his run, small sensors are fitted into his ski boots and goggles, with others attached to his legs. The system is designed to record what happens at takeoff and how his body moves during flight. Sensors inside the boot measure foot pressure at 3 precise contact points. All data is transmitted wirelessly and made available to coaches immediately after each jump. The technology is also designed to speed up motor learning. A machine learning model analyzes the measurements from each jump and can generate instant feedback. A small vibration motor built into the boots alerts the athletes when a movement or position deviates from the target pattern. For the research team, the limitations of ski jumping itself make that immediacy important. For coaches, the data can also highlight where posture, balance and force application need adjustment, particularly during the takeoff phase, which is critical for both distance and stability in flight. For Swiss Ski, the project is part of a broader shift towards data-supported coaching, alongside video analysis and biomechanical modeling. The aim is not to replace technical judgment, but to add objective measurement to a sport where much of the feedback is still visual and experience-led.
Now, of course, we have a big story from the T20 World Cup. Australia's T20 World Cup campaign is on thin ice. Zimbabwe have stunned Australia by 23 runs in Colombo. Australia won the toss and elected to field first at the Stadium. Zimbabwe looked very cautious with their batting. Stormers had their first breakthrough, dismissing Brian Bennett's opening partner, Manumani, for 35. Cameron Green then struck to dismiss Ryan Bury. That was only 2 wickets to fall for Zimbabwe. Opener Brian Bennett scored an unbeaten 64 off 56 balls. Zimbabwe skipper Sikandar Raza's unbeaten 13 ball 25 helped them target off 169 for 2 in their 20 overs. The Chase looked comfortably within Australia's reach, but they lost 4 wickets for just 29 runs in the power play. The collapse began in the second over when Josh Inglis holed out off the very first ball, bowled by the towering 6'8" pace bowler Blessing Mazarbani. Cameron Green and a newly fit Tim David were both caught behind for second ball duck. Skipper Travis Head could consider himself unlucky after chopping on his stumps. Matthew Renshaw and Glenn Maxwell studied the innings with a 77-run stand for 5th wicket. However, Maxwell fell for 31, increasing the pressure. Bazravani then returned to bowl the penultimate over and remove Renshaw, leaving Australia needing 31 runs from 8 balls with 2 wickets in hand. He struck again in the same over to dismiss Adam Zampa, and Australia were eventually bowled out for 146. Zimbabwe claimed the win without their vice-captain Brendan Taylor, who was sidelined with a hamstring injury, and with captain Sikandar Raza battling calf cramps throughout the fielding innings. The result leaves Group B delicately poised after 2 games each. Australia are 2 points behind Zimbabwe and Sri Lanka.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's obviously a great start to get 2 out of 2 wins this tournament. I think obviously we've got 2 more games left in the pool matches. I think, yeah, definitely just need to go back to the drawing board, not to get too far ahead of ourselves. Still got 2 big games to play, and hopefully we can come out on top of those as well.
All right, with that, we call a wrap to this bulletin. But don't go anywhere. Coming up, as Bangladesh Nationalist Party celebrated its landslide victory in recent general elections, Jamaat-e-Islami Party has alleged irregularities in polls. We'll get you all the details on the other side. Keep watching WION The World is One.
And welcome to a brand new edition of South India a daily dynamic show that will capture the pulse of southern states.
By blending the special stories, the breaking alerts, and the culture developments as well.
From the 7 News.